So my goal race has changed with a new goal race now in the calendar. Plus, am I as fit as I thought I was? Today I want to sit down with you guys and discuss some race schedule changes along with goal times leading in to the goal race. So in the intro video to this training series, what I sat down and said was I want to try and do either Malaga half marathon or Stroud half marathon. And that was just going to depend on whether I could get abroad and go and do a half marathon in sunny Malaga with the family, or if I had to stay relatively local and wrap the training series up here. Well, neither of those are now happening. I have a new goal race booked in, paid for and ready to go in less than 4 weeks time. Plus I have another race that I'm eyeing up in Spain that I am hopefully booking and getting sorted over the coming weeks, and that's going to be in spring next year along with a massive spring training block. We're going to be sitting down talking about all of it, confirming what the new goal race is and then what spring 2024 has in store, plus how I feel my fitness is. Now I just want to touch on fitness at the moment, because if you've been following the training series, you'll know that I'm training for a sub 75 half marathon. My last PB was 75:14, 75:17, somewhere around that region. Cardiff half marathon last year, I think it was. Either way, it was a great event. It might have been the year before. I genuinely can't remember. Either way, my half marathon is well overdue a PB. And I do feel like I've had a really successful year this year. I've had a great year and I feel like I'm ready to attack this with a new PB. What I have mentioned in my training series, and if you watch it, you'll understand, I've talked about the possibility of a 73-minute half marathon, 74-minute, and I kind of feel like after this weekend's race, I need to revise things a little bit and keep things under control. I always get like this when I sort of start training, feel really fit, and I have these sort of great goals, but then I have a race that gives me a bit of a reality check, and I'm like, no, come on, baby steps. What we need to do is we need to just get that PB, get that sub 75, and then we can kick on from there. So what I'm going to do is revise my goal to a 74 something half marathon. Now, I do believe that on a good day, if the stars align, I could run a 73, and I'd love it to happen at Oxford, but I'm certainly not going to make that my priority. What I need to now get in check with less than 4 weeks to go is that I dial in to that 74-minute pace, which I believe is in and around 5:37 to sort of 5:41, 42 per mile. And to cater for sort of GPS length on course, when I'm looking at my watch, I really don't want it to be any more than 5:40 per mile. That would be a really safe bet for me to run that 74-minute half marathon. The reason I'm saying all of this is because after Oldbury 10 miler on the weekend, I went out there and ran marathon pace, or effort I should say, for the first 5 miles. I gave a good debrief after the race, talking about how I felt I overcooked it a little bit. And my coach Will did say, you will feel the pinch, you will feel that fatigue when you kick into half marathon gear. And when that 5 mile lap came round, I hit the lap button on my watch because I don't have any auto splits. I don't have mile splits or kilometer splits. I just run to effort and I've got average pace on screen. So I can see it said 5:52 per mile for the marathon section. I hit lap and I went, and I felt like in that 6th mile up to sort of 7.5 miles, I was feeling really strong. And although energy faded a little bit, I felt like from mile 6 to 8, I ran really strong. Effort-wise, it was probably harder than half marathon effort, more 1 hour race pace, but that's what I was kind of running in anyway, a 10-mile race. But the goal was really to kind of lock into half marathon, and then if I had any more at the end, kick on. Mile splits ended up being 5:33, 5:40 and 5:42. So that was a good reality check that actually your fitness level, probably if you went out at your goal half marathon coming up in the low 5:30s, you will blow up. So what I now have to think to myself is I need to go out in the low 5:40s and try and cut down into the late 5:30s and sit and hold there. That's much more of a realistic target for me. And then when I was able to try and kick on for the last 2 miles, I managed an 5:38 and 5:39 or something. And again, I'm hitting that pace that I want to hit at the half marathon, but it felt really hard. So I have to be honest with myself here and say, as much as I appreciate the marathon pace chunk will have fatigued me, and yet I'll be going into the goal half marathon fresher, and I won't have that marathon chunk before. I'm going straight into the half marathon work. I will work into it gently, but I'll be hitting that a lot earlier on in the race. I have to just be aware that it's something I need to be able to sustain, and I don't want to blow this chance. I want to be a sensible runner. I want to tick that box. I want to get the 74-minute, and I want to move on. So I feel like a quick fitness update was important for you guys, just to know where I'm at with my fitness. I think this weekend showed that that late 5:30s to early 5:40s is where I'm comfortable, and I think that would be a really sensible thing for me to do when it comes to the goal race. So speaking of goal half marathons, what did I end up entering? What is different, and why have I gone for the Oxford Half Marathon on October the 15th, 2023. So yeah, I'm doing Oxford, and I brought the goal race forward 2 weeks. I would love to have done the goal race when I originally planned on that Malaga or Stroud weekend, but Oxford just ticked all the boxes for me, and I decided to go for that instead. So when I knew that Malaga wasn't on the cards, and I knew I had this other half marathon in Spain that I wanted to look at, I then started looking a bit further afield for races that I could do in the UK that had good field depth, that was nice and flat and fast, and that wouldn't require me to stay anywhere overnight, so somewhere I could drive in the morning. And for me, when we did Oxford in the summer holidays with the family as a day trip, it took like an hour and 25 minutes to get to the park and ride, and they recommend getting the park and ride in, so I thought, well, that's fine, I can drive there in the morning, and that will be absolutely fine. As I said, good field depth like I would have got at Stroud, a little bit flatter than Stroud, and that's what I want, is just somewhere where it's flat and fast and a good field depth. Now, you guys will see from a lot of the race videos that I do around here, especially the local races, field depth is not always the best, and often I can find like I'm doing like a time trial, or there's no one to cling on to, or it just can be quite hard. So I thought to myself, well, Oxford ticks all the boxes. I'm hoping that there's going to be, well, I noticed there was good concentration of runners most years in the results in and around that 73 to 76 time area. So I'm hoping that there'll be some good packs to run with, and that's what I want. I'd love to just be able to run with a pack, even if it's to like halfway, that's fine. Just to share the load a little bit with other runners. I find that I have my best races when I am doing that, conserve a bit of energy, take the lead. I'm always happy to take the lead for a bit and then swap back into the pack. God, you're doing so much work to begin. I really don't mind, I just want company and someone there to run with. So I decided to pay and enter that a couple of weeks ago, and I've been kind of thinking to myself, how am I going to approach this with 2 weeks less, and discussing it with Will. That's why this weekend's Oldbury 10 miler ended up being the way it was. I think if it was 6 weeks out, like if I was doing Stroud or Malaga, I think I might have been able to maybe race it more, but because of if I would have raced all out 10 miler, the fatigue coming off the back of that going into the next training week would have hampered that, and it's just kind of like one of those things. Do I want to waste a week of training? No, not really. So although I'm having a slightly reduced week this week, I'm not wasting too much training time. It will be a lower week, but I'll be able to get back into things sooner because I'm not quite as beat up as if I'd have gone and raced it all out. So that's now the goal half marathon, so I will be mentioning that in the upcoming training series for the final 4 weeks, and yeah, that's where we're at with that. So that leads me on nicely to the final chapter of this, which is spring 2024. What is this new goal half marathon, or I should say goal marathon, but then the potential half marathon in Spain that I'm looking at, and it's the Barcelona half marathon in February. So our attentions, me and my wife's attentions, turned to Barcelona. We were looking around in Malaga, and just kind of at that time of year, there's a little bit less to do, although there's a lot of beaches and stuff. You have to remember that for us, you probably don't know this, but I've got 3 kids, and they are age range. We've got 2 teenagers and we have a 3-year-old, so 2 different ends of the spectrum. Now, on some recent holidays and stuff, we've been going to the beach a lot, and it doesn't tick the boxes of the eldest kids. So what we were trying to look at is a family holiday that I can incorporate a race like Malaga or Barcelona that would tick everybody's boxes. And Barcelona just has a little bit more there for everybody, and we can split parent, and I can take the little one and my wife can take the older 2, or the other way round if things need to be done like that, or we can all go and do something together. So we kind of feel like Barcelona as a family aspect will be better for us to holiday in, and then of course I'll be able to race the Barcelona half, so that's mega exciting. Can't wait to have my first European race experience, plus being able to make some memories with the family. That's really cool. Nothing's booked yet, so this might still all fall through, but we are trying to make that happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So if that gets confirmed, I will let you guys know in some format on the channel. And if that does happen, well, regardless if that happens, I also have my Good for Age time for London, which Good for Age entries aren't open yet. They're open at the end of this month. And I am very much considering London to be my goal marathon in the spring, although I am actually keeping an eye on entries for Newport Marathon. They haven't released the date yet. I am keeping an eye on it. I am tempted still to do Newport, and I'm tempted to do London for both different reasons. I don't personally work very well when there's a lot of adrenaline running through me, big crowds and stuff. London is incredible, and amazing, but it doesn't work for me usually. So if I did London, I'd have to be a little bit cautious on the approach to it as to how I did it. I think if I went all out like I did at kind of Newport this year, or really went for it, I think I would absolutely bonk towards the end. So I'd have to probably hold back a little bit to cater for the adrenaline that runs through me. Whereas I feel like if I was at Newport, I could really give it a good hearty effort and really go for something special. So I am kind of keeping my options open there, but I'm pretty sure I'll end up doing London in some way, shape or form. So next spring should be Barcelona and London. And my goal for 2024 in general is not to jump on a plane and jet off everywhere, because I don't have the finances for that, but it is to travel more to some what's the word I'm looking for some deeper field races, some races that are going to have more runners in it that are going to be around my level, so that I can kind of run in packs more. And I am going to be prepared to travel around the UK, not like miles and miles, but I'm prepared to get accommodation and stay the night before. That's what I want 2024 to be, just to travel a little bit around the UK, do a few bigger races, or not necessarily bigger, but deeper field races that are going to work for me. I've noticed this year in particular, if I sit back and look at the whole year, is that there's been a lot of races where I've done time trials, and it kind of feels like I could have squeezed a bit more out of myself if I would have someone to run with. So although I will still continue to support local races and do plenty of them next year, I am also going to travel a little bit further afield to get my nose in there and get into some bigger depth field of races. And that's going to probably be the theme of 2024, which really excites me. So as I said, I'm not jumping on a plane everywhere. I haven't got the money for that. We've hopefully got the money for one nice big holiday, and that will be that. After that, I'll be just kind of traveling a little bit more, grab a cheap hotel the night before, Airbnb, and jump into some really good races. So there we go. That's my training update, goal race update, goal potential race updates for 2024. I appreciate you guys. If you made it to now, I really appreciate it. This has been a very much a sit down and talk video, but it needed to be done. I sometimes need to do these videos just to lay everything out there so you guys know where we're at with training, what the goals are. I get asked all the time, I've been asked a lot over the last couple of weeks, what is your goal half marathon? Did you book Malaga? Did you book Stroud? What was it? So now it's out there, you guys know, and I was confident then to talk about sort of like potentially Barcelona. If that doesn't happen, that's fine. There's other half marathons that I might consider traveling to, like the Village Bakery half up in Wrexham. I know that's February. Again, I get accommodation, deep field up there. Definitely look at doing something like that. So there's definitely some good UK options out there, but hopefully we'll make Barcelona happen. So there we go. I appreciate you guys hanging around. If you have any other questions about the training series that I've forgotten to ask, just drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. And if you've run Barcelona half, do let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. That is it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do consider giving it a like, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to the channel for weekly running content. I'll see you in the next one. Until then.